You want to know which running backs are going to smash in week 6? Get ready, we're about to tell you. Welcome back, Endgame community. I'm Pierre, he's Chris. We're going to give you our weekly boom picks, this time heading into week 6 of the fantasy football season. All right, Chris, let's get things started. Who's a running back you feel really good about?
You know, I haven't been feeling really good about Jeff Wilson, and I probably should have been because he's honestly been good to great so far, you know, given his chances since Elijah Mitchell has gotten hurt. And if you look at the 4 games that he's essentially played without Elijah Mitchell, he's had 18, 12, 18, and 17 carries. And he's been really, really effective on those carries. And another nice benefit for Jeff Wilson is there's no Trey Lance, right? That was one of the worries kind of coming into this year was, well, Trey Lance is a running quarterback, and we know that running quarterbacks tend to hurt running backs because instead of handing the ball off, they run it, right? So the running backs tend to, you know, take a slight hit. But they've got Jimmy G now, and Jimmy G is a statue. He's either throwing quick passes to Debo, you know, chucking inaccurate deep passes to Ayuk, or he's handing the ball off to Jeff Wilson. And this week, he should be doing a lot of handing off to Jeff Wilson because they're playing the Falcons. Number one, the Falcons' defense is terrible. They can't stop anybody. They can't stop the run. They're not going to be able to stop Jeff Wilson. But also, the Falcons' offense is terrible. I know the 49ers' secondary is a little banged up. This is still an elite defense. I highly doubt the Falcons are going to force the 49ers out of their game plan and force the 49ers to throw. The 49ers are going to be able to run it as much and as often as they want, and they're going to be extremely effective when they run it in this game. So Jeff Wilson, he's been great for you if you grabbed him off of waivers. He'll be great for you again this week. He should boom. Always has touchdown upside. No reason he can't score a touchdown this week. So Jeff Wilson in a prime spot to boom in week 6.
Yeah, look, it's hard to just inherently trust the 49ers backfield. But at this point, I think it's pretty clear it belongs to Wilson. And so, yeah, I've got to give him his credit as well. I mean, at this point, he's a must start this week. All right, so speaking of defenses that get run over, let's talk about the Washington Commanders. Now, you just saw they got run over by Derrick Henry, and I get, okay, that's Derrick Henry, right? He does that to pretty much everyone. But I actually feel really good this week about David Montgomery, not just because of the matchup, but here's what I like that I saw from him last week, is that he was the guy, once again, who owned the backfield. What did you see from Khalil Herbert last week? Pretty much nothing. 4 carries. So we see this time and time again. As soon as David Montgomery is healthy, there is no timeshare. There is no split of carries. It's Montgomery. Herbert just gets on the field once in a while. So I get that Montgomery really wasn't that effective on the ground, only 20 yards. He did get in the end zone, but you know what he did? He caught the ball, which is something Khalil Herbert doesn't do at all. 64 yards through the air. Like, he's one of these guys who is as close as you can get to a workhorse back, and he does catch the ball as well. Bears are not a dynamic offense. I get it. But they're playing a bad defense. That gives him this upside where, look, he's a guy you kind of have to start anyways, but this could be a really big week for him because he's going to be even closer to full health. He was a little bit limited last week as it is, but stepping into this matchup, I think it's going to be a lot of Montgomery, and I think he's going to smash. All right, let's keep going. Give me another running back who you feel might boom.
Well, speaking of a workhorse running back, that's going to be Kenneth Walker now because sadly, Rashad Penny struggled with injury his whole career, struggling with it again, confirmed, done for the entire season. It's going to be Kenneth Walker time. And look, we knew when they drafted him that he probably was going to have a role. Obviously started preseason, with that sports hernia injury, got off to a slow start, kind of got nicked up here in the regular season, but he's ready to go, and now they need him because who do they have behind him? DJ Dallas, Travis Homer. They just grabbed Tony Jones off of the Saints practice squad. I mean, there's nobody behind Kenneth Walker, and this guy was, one of the best prospects in this running back class. Now, granted, it wasn't the strongest class, but he's still an extremely good prospect. He's still a very good running back, and they're playing the Cardinals. This Cardinals defense is by no means scary. They are not a very good defense at all, and even better, for some reason, I don't know why, Geno Smith looks like an MVP candidate, and this Seattle offense looks incredible, which is just going to help Kenneth Walker because they actually can move the ball and they can actually throw the ball. And we saw it last week. Kenneth Walker does not need 20, 25 carries. He is always one play away from taking it to the house. So this is a guy in a workhorse role now. Sure, he might not catch a ton of passes, but has so much upside, so much big playability, so much touchdown upside. If you got Kenneth Walker off of waivers, or if you had him stashed, you have to feel great about him. Not only rest of the season, but especially here in Week 6, a must start with boom potential.
Look, I love me some Kenneth Walker, and I said it in the running back start-sit video where we talk about every running back. That matters for every game. I think if you got him, especially if you spent up on him in waivers, you have to put him in your lineup. All right, so here's a guy who's been kind of on the fence most weeks. Like, do you start him? Do you not? Well, I'm going to go ahead and say Ramondre Stevenson, definite must start this week. So, look, I get it. The fact is that he might have the backfield to himself. We don't know because Damien Harris left last week with a hamstring injury. I really don't care if he comes back or not. Stevenson has to be in your lineup because he's going to be the guy regardless. So, let me throw out some numbers for you. 8, 9, 12, 14, 25. That's the number of carries Stevenson has had from weeks 1 through 5. Now, obviously that spike, that 25 carries, that's because Harris missed most of the last game. But you saw what was happening. This was trending up towards Stevenson already. He was taking over this backfield anyways. And he's the guy who's going to catch at least a couple of passes here and there, whereas Harris barely does. So you already had more upside. And then you talk about the matchup. Again, even if both these guys are out there, I'm thinking you almost have to start both of them because Cleveland is giving up 5.9 yards per carry. Stevenson averages 5.5 yards per carry as it is, one of the more effective runners in the league, going against one of the least effective run defenses. This is kind of a no-brainer. I know, Chris, you picked Stevenson last week in a tougher spot. This one is almost too easy for me, so I'm going to go with the layup and just say you have to start Ramondre. All right, let's go with one more boom each. Give me one more running back that you like.
I mean, I can't believe I'm saying this name, but it's Raheem Mostert. Coming off a big game where he boomed last week, I think he follows it up with another boom this week. He has completely taken over this backfield. Chase Edmonds barely even involved. And Mostert looked great last week, over 100 yards, scored that touchdown. Yeah, it was the Jets, but the Jets aren't a complete pushover, as far as it goes against running backs. I mean, Nick Chubb didn't get 100 yards against them when he played. And the only team he hasn't gotten 100 yards against. So it's not like this is the Jets are just a great, can't miss matchup like the Browns that you just talked about. But now he gets an even better matchup against the Vikings, who actually are very bad, bottom 10 against the run, can't stop anybody. And look, we know Tua more than likely not going to be back this week. Mike McDaniel saying not even really ready to start doing anything football related yet. Maybe it'll be Teddy B, maybe it'll be Skylar Thompson, but whoever it is, they're probably going to lean on the run game, and they're probably going to lean on Raheem Mostert, especially, Tyreek Hill dealing with some quad injuries, foot injuries. They're going to lean on this guy, and if he's going to get this kind of usage against this type of defense, you have to have him in your lineup because the upside is just way too high. So Raheem Mostert, once again, feel good about him. I think he booms 2 weeks in a row.
I sure hope he does because my Dolphins, they need something these days, some spark of hope. All right, so from one veteran to another, let's talk about Melvin Gordon. So, look, I know he's not the most exciting name these days, and based on what you saw from Denver last week and all season, there's really not much to get excited about at all in that offense. But here's the thing. I mean, first of all, we got the revenge game narrative. Who can pass on that, right? Going against his old team, the Chargers. Okay, but beyond that, look, Melvin Gordon is still the guy in this backfield because even though Mike Boone did get involved, a lot of that came because, unfortunately, Melvin Gordon decided to put the ball on the ground again. He didn't lose it, but, he still got a little bit of the butterfingers going on there. If Gordon can just hold on to the ball for the whole game, it is basically his backfield. And what I do like about Gordon is the fact that, look, he's going to be the guy who they use in the red zone and the money zone. So even with Javonte there for the first couple of games, Melvin Gordon was among the leaders in red zone rushes and money zone rushes. He's got 6 carries inside the 10-yard line and 4 inside the 5-yard line. And you saw back a couple of weeks ago, even though Javonte was healthy, when the end of the game, they needed a touchdown. Who they gave it to? Melvin Gordon. He knows how to score touchdowns. That's something he's definitely done his whole career. Gordon's going to get a lot of touches. I feel good about that. Gordon is going to get the touches that count, assuming they do get near the goal line. And he is a guy who will catch passes. That's not really Mike Boone's strength, all right? So Gordon at least does give you that floor for PPR leagues. And, well, I do like the fact that the Chargers happen to also have one of the worst run defenses in the league. We've seen them get gashed over and over again. I don't know that I can say I feel Gordon is a lock for 100 yards on the ground, but I think he's got a good chance to score and get it 100 total yards. So I'm going to go with Gordon as a guy you kind of lock in your lineup. All right, now you know which running backs we feel might break out this week, but what about the rest? What about start-sit advice for every position? We got you covered. Check out our playlist for Week 6 for all the best fantasy advice to help you win.